Graphic design, if I take that very literally, I mean, is typically, traditionally, things that get printed. So you might have some commercial spaces where they have signage, and then, of course, that's typography and literal messaging for communication, and also, obviously, for movement through space. But for the most part, graphic designers are moving into the built environment and doing larger scale things and affecting the built environment, but for the most part, graphic design is still kind of its own island. So my work, I was trained really traditionally in Basel, Switzerland. I know how to handset type, I know how to hand letter, training in photography. I have all these things which, you know, are more kind of classic graphic design background. But then these tools really freed me up to think about how, if you have a good idea, there aren't any boundaries. You know, you can express it in a variety of ways. So I, you know, went from video and video paint box to the Macintosh computer. From there, I, you know, was able to do some motion graphics and some TV spots. So then I kind of was able to start to import my video work into print work and into motion work. And then from there, you know, I started working more in interactive. And so I'm kind of an oddity because I started so early, mostly because I was just fascinated with things that could be tools for communication or messaging. I found that whenever I'm in a strong natural environment and I can ever experience some quiet, that I have a real clarity and a way of kind of, you know, brain dump of the last thing I worked on, and then a kind of rejuvenation of thinking. So I would say that, you know, I don't have a methodology for the work, but I have a methodology for keeping kind of a clear head and allowing for some maybe, you know, non sequitur kind of random thinking and ways of approaching a schematic concept phase with a client. I think the challenges for being a designer, whether it be a graphic designer or product designer or industrial designer or whatever, the challenges really are to really stay fluent enough whether or not you can actually do everything yourself on your computer or with your tools, electronic tools, that you have a kind of a rolling working knowledge of all of them. And the capabilities of those, so that, you know, a broader way to look at graphic design is as a visual communicator. And so how can you best get the best message, the best communication? How can you create a information hierarchy? You know, what are your ways of messaging? You know, that can be, you know, through print, through motion, through interactive, through space. You have all these kind of opportunities and you know, doors to jump out of because of technology. However, the challenge of technology is to be really good as a communicator, one has to have a pretty broad knowledge and in some cases a deep knowledge of how to work with technology. So it starts with, sadly, I think it starts a lot with what kind of schooling you have. And so I think a challenge is really having really good schooling. And so, you know, a challenge is really, on the one hand, being fluent in those languages of new technologies, and on the other hand, not burrowing into one tool or one technology such that you have a midlife crisis at the age of 30, you know, or 25. And I think, so it's all kind of interwoven of what the field's demanding, because it's so broad and it's so important, communications.